So I want to cover the guest essay from New York Times editorial board. UnitedHealth Group CEO, the healthcare system is flawed. Let's fix it. It's by Andrew Whitty, who is the chief executive officer of the UnitedHealth Group, the parent company of UnitedHealthcare. This is the CEO on top of the CEO, the big dog. Just so you understand. And he wrote this article, and the article had 2.5 thousand quotes, comments, and they had to close the comment section because they didn't like what the New York Times readers were commenting. This person is the top dog, the person who wrote this article. Let's take a look at what he said. They had to turn off the comments in this article. As Brian Thompson's family, friends, and colleagues mourn his killing, we are bearing a grief and sadness we will carry for the rest of our lives. Grief for the family he leaves behind, and grief for a brilliant, kind man who was working to make healthcare better for everyone. Absolutely no one believes this. We greatly appreciate the enormous outpouring of support for Brian, who ran our health insurance business, UnitedHealthcare, as well as our wider company, which I lead. Yet we are also struggling to make sense of this unconscionable act and the vitriol that has been directed at our colleagues who have been barraged by threats. No employees, be they the people who answer customer calls or nurses who visit patients in their homes, should have to fear for their and their loved ones' safety. It's gross that the CEO is once again using regular working class people who also are ironically getting fucked over by their own healthcare companies while they're working for the healthcare company as a way to try and soften the blow. It's not the nurses, and it should never be the nurses, and it shouldn't be the customer service representatives either. This anger is directed towards the CEOs and the people who play a role. You're using them as human shields here. You're hiding behind them. We know that the health system does not work as well as it should, and we understand people's frustrations with it. I want to look up how much UnitedHealthcare has spent on lobbying. Just real quick. Lobbying expenditure. I wonder if this is like something easy to find. UnitedHealthcare has spent $5.8 million on total lobbying expenditures in 2024. Well. So we do know why the health system does not work as well as it should. And we understand people's frustrations with it. That rings a little hollow when you think about this. This is the direct money that UnitedHealthcare alone has spent on lobbying alone. These are direct funds. This does not factor in the conferences, the wheeling and dealing. Okay? This does not factor in other healthcare, for-profit healthcare groups that also play a significant role. This does not factor in industry-specific lobbying groups. This is just UnitedHealthcare just for 2024, this past election cycle. Please understand, the number across the board, industry-wide, is significantly higher. Okay? Let's take a look at healthcare lobbying in general. When you look at the sector profile for health, it goes up to $562,332,190. 48% of the number of lobbyists are former government employees as well. Once again, this still does not factor in. This still does not factor in. This $500 million does not factor in all of the issues. Okay? This does not factor in how much money they're spending on top of this. This doesn't factor in the ad spend. This, which plays a pretty significant role in why media figures are so defensive of healthcare profits. You spend hundreds of millions of dollars across the board industry-wide on ad spend on mainstream networks, and then those mainstream networks play ball for you. Okay? And the best part about this is all of this also plays a role in why healthcare sector profit margins are only 6%. Because this is expenditure before profits. UnitedHealthcare alone works with almost $500 billion in revenue. $500 billion in revenue generated. All of this, not this isn't entirely UnitedHealthcare. This is just pure lobbying alone. All of that is going into their expenses. And even then, they still come out on top with $33 billion in pure profit. Okay? Just understand. So when a healthcare CEO that sits on top of UnitedHealth Group turns around and says, we know the health system does not work as well as it should, and we understand people's frustrations with it. It's like, no, dog, you spend a shitload to directly lobby Congress to make sure it's busted. And then on top of that, you still spend a shitload to normalize the cruelty and the pain people experience. You designed the problems. So make no mistake, it's fucking bullshit when they say, oh, dude, this is ridiculous. In 2023, the ad spending on UnitedHealthcare SVCs in the United States was the highest on television media, reaching a value of $174.91 million US. No one would design a system like the one we have, and no one did. It's a patchwork built over decades. Our mission is to help make it work better. No, it's not. We are willing to partner with anyone, as we always have, healthcare providers, employers, patients, pharmaceutical companies, governments, and others, to find ways to deliver high-quality care and lower costs. Clearly, we are not there yet. We understand and share the desire to build a healthcare system that works better for everyone. That is the purpose of our organization. Healthcare is both intensely personal and very complicated, and the reasons behind coverage decisions are not well understood. We share some of the responsibility for that. Yeah, dude. It's the lack of transparency. Yeah, no. You don't understand. There are good reasons for why we deny coverage. You're using too much healthcare, which, by the way, we're not even providing. Nurses, doctors, hospitals are providing the care. We simply are the shitty middleman that makes money off of making the process more costly. And the way we make money? By denying you the actual coverage that you paid for. That is the purpose. This is a parasitic force. They are fucking leeches. Just so you understand, their entire profit comes from getting your money in the form of premiums, okay, and creating this unnecessarily complex middleman, only to then turn around and not pay for the full coverage. Their whole reason for existence is profit. And as a reason for existence, the way that they generate that profit is by getting money from you and then doing everything in their power to not pay the entire medical bill. That's how they make money. Just so you understand. Together with employers, governments, and others who pay for care, we need to improve how we explain what insurance covers and how decisions are made. Behind each decision lies a comprehensive and continually updated body of clinical evidence, focused on achieving the best health outcomes and ensuring patient safety. Yeah. That's why whenever there's no insurance industry, no for-profit insurance that plays this like incredibly expensive middle manager role, specifically for the purpose of, generating profits for some of the wealthiest people in society, everybody dies. Famously, in all other comparable OECD nations, people are just dying left and right. They have no safety for their patients. Why? Because the insurance sector doesn't exist or is not as fucking robust as it is in the United States of America. Except, no, that's not the case. But they will never tell you that. Americans are purposely shut off from recognizing that there are countries, both to the north of us and to the south of us, that have actually figured out this unimaginably complex situation that we simply can't figure out. And there are even far better systems as well. There are examples of wealthier countries, or at least like not as wealthy as America because we are the wealthiest nation on earth, but there are examples of countries that have far less than us, and yet they have been able to figure out a nationalized structure. How does that work? How does that exist? It's because in all of those other countries, no matter how tyrannical they might be, in other circumstances, like fucking Turkey even, there is still a responsibility for governance. There is an interest in welfare, the welfare of the citizenry. That's it. It's not fucking magic. It's because somewhere along the line, somewhere throughout this history, leaders were like, yeah, we still need to, we need to make sure that we have a healthy society. In America, this does not exist because what matters most is not the overall welfare of the citizenry. What matters most is profit. What matters most is corporations and their welfare. We put profit over people every step of the way. While the health system is not perfect, every corner is filled with people who try to do their best for who they serve. Brian was one of those people. He was raised in the same Iowa farmhouse as his mom. His dad spent more than 40 years unloading trucks at grain elevators. BT, as we knew him, worked farm jobs as a kid and fished at a gravel pit with his brother. He never forgot where he came from because it was the needs of people who live in places like Jewell, Iowa, that he considered first in finding ways to improve care. I'm going to be really real with you. If I were to go to Jewell, Iowa, a town of like, 1,200 people, I could probably find like 300 people that got fucked over dramatically by their for-profit healthcare. Maybe not by UnitedHealth Group specifically. But that's so funny to be like, this is where he comes from. This tiny town. Okay? I'm willing to bet if you went to that fucking tiny town and you found randomly, okay, the population is 1,183. If you went to that random town and asked like 100 people, you would find 90 people that got fucked over, or at least knows a person in their immediate family that got fucked over by for-profit insurance. Okay? It does not matter. When a colleague proposed a new idea to Brian, he would always ask, would you want this for your own family? If not, end of discussion. Brian was never content with the status quo. That's why he pushed us to build dedicated teams to help the sickest people navigate the health system. It's why he fought for preventative health and quality health outcomes rather than simply adding ever more tests and procedures. He believed decisions about healthcare should start with the individual and champion plans in which consumers could see costs and coverage options up front so they could decide what's best for themselves and their families. The ideas he advocated were aimed at making healthcare more affordable, more transparent, more intuitive, more compassionate, and more human. That's Brian's legacy, one that we will carry forward by continuing our work to make the health system work better for everyone. The amount of fucking profits that Brian brought in must have been great enough for this guy to fucking put his name on this article. Holy shit. Here are some of the comments from 4 hours ago. There's a watchword for the way people justify bad acts nowadays. Elide. Mr. Whitty elides many key facts in this somewhat sanctimonious essay about his colleague's death. The fact that no insurance executive has a primary obligation to any patient. The fact that no for-profit insurance company is incentivized by their policyholders' successful therapy. The fact that his company is notorious among healthcare providers for employing any and all means to obfuscate, distract, confuse, delay, and otherwise obstruct paying our benefits. Mr. Thompson's death was indeed tragic, but Mr. Whitty has offered no substantive plans to address the widespread outrage at the way his company conducts business. Mr. Whitty, the money talks, which is why you will not walk nor run to change a system that lines your pockets at the expense of your paying customers. As an outpatient MD, I can tell you that I know why United was the most profitable of all healthcare companies, because it denied the most. United made me get authorization for cheap medications like ACE inhibitors and tests like ultrasounds. No other major insurer did that. United had some plans that were good, that would cover tests that were not necessary, and their crappier plans would not cover more important tests. This is a self-serving essay that does nothing to address the real issues of healthcare. This is not YouTube commenters. Make no mistake. YouTube commenters are very right-wing in general. We know this. We see it. We see it every day. We look at fucking comments on YouTube on any number of different content creators. And they're almost always the dumbest shit you've ever seen. And yet, people seemingly are united on this. Perhaps it is not because they are card-carrying members of the International League of Communists, but because they are regular-ass people that know what it looks like when a fucking family member dies, that know how it feels when their insurance claims are denied, even though they paid for it. That's it. These are the people that pay for the New York Times. These are the people that are most susceptible to this kind of propaganda. And yet, it is not working on them. These are people who, on average, have higher income than the steel mill worker that's living in the middle of America. And yet, even they are cognizant of where the pain actually resides. If your fucking target audience is not believing this bullshit, you can't finger wag your way out of this. These are the people that are most susceptible to the finger wagging. And even they're like, nah, dog, this is bullshit. These are the people who care about civility. Make no mistake, these are the people who care most about civility. If you were to look at a profile of a New York Times reader who takes the time out to comment on a New York Times op-ed, you have to understand, these are the finger waggers themselves in many instances, the professional managerial class, the people that are in, the people that have been recipients of some semblance of upward social mobility that is seen as impossible for many Americans. And even they are like, nope, not believing this fucking bullshit you're putting out there. This is a self-serving essay that does nothing to address the real issues of healthcare in this nation and seeks to justify the financial waste incurred by health insurance companies while their goals are bottom line profits for the shareholders. Like, you can tell these people love capitalism. You can tell these people have benefited from capitalism. You could tell that these people want to defend capitalism. Even in the way that they criticize it, they say, we are not even against for-profit insurance. Not every single person here that is chiming in is saying for-profit healthcare must not exist. But even they recognize, and they're wrong for the record, for-profit healthcare should not exist. It's fucking ridiculous. But even they recognize that, like, it has gotten out of hand. Okay? My sister died because of insurance. She battled cancer for a year and they wouldn't cover this scan. A year later, they scanned her in the ER for 4 brain tumors and it was far too late. So many people have a story like Leonora. So many people. I'm sorry for your loss. You can't finger wag your way out of that. Okay? You just can't. It's fucking crazy. Anecdotal, but my dad is the most MSNBC Nikki Haley lib, and even he kind of shrugged at the assassination and talked about how evil UnitedHealth was as a company. I spent decades dealing with insurance providers trying to get authorization for patients' procedures, payment for services rendered, and explaining why their denials were bogus. The answer to our healthcare ills does not lie in the continued propping up of a system that does not provide quality and is inefficient. We spent too much for too little, and companies like United are part of the problem, not the solution. I've recently read the book, The 10-Year War by Andrew Cohn. Everyone who wants a first-hand look at healthcare reform in this country needs to read this and realize how slow and tedious reform in this field is and why we are so slow to act. We live in the wealthiest nation on earth. We pay for healthcare more than anyone else, okay? More than anyone else on the planet. And even then, we have to still continuously fundraise off of websites. Like, people need to resort to e-begging so they can pay the parts of the healthcare that they already paid for that the healthcare company refused to cover. It's fucking insane. And no one in a position of power with any semblance of influence or any semblance of authority takes a deep breath and goes, honestly, we got to fix this. This is like insane. Part of that is because they're getting paid by these people. They're getting paid in the form of lobbying. They're getting paid in the form of nice trips. It's completely fucking normalized. This cruelty is completely normalized. How did Brian justify taking $10 million a year for himself when a small portion of that money could have saved so many? I've met too many people smarter than me who earn less and dumber than me who earn more to believe that pay is purely related to merit. It's wrong the government killed the CEO. It's also wrong that the CEO hoarded personal wealth while he let others die. Let's start by cutting your salary. Being rewarded for bad behavior is sick. Just going to leave this here. My brief time inside a giant law firm, I saw the inner workings of major insurance like UHC, including actions that unequivocally cause the suffering of seriously ill policyholders and intentionally deny coverage for medically necessary care. I also saw good people, including my colleagues, defend the indefensible and become true believers in the value of their work and that of their healthcare industry clients. And those utilization management medical decisions, when not being auto-denied with AI, decisions are largely made by unqualified and barely licensed medical, in air quotes, professionals. Insurance departments are where the disciplined fired and otherwise unemployable go to finish their careers. policies in general are often based on outdated literature and guidelines. Spectator, thank you for the 25 Get This subs. Which insurance know very few patients have the time or expertise to challenge. This is, in many instances, a way, like the legal hurdles that you place upon the average American, the average person that doesn't have the money to be able to go into this legal battle or whatever, like that is a way to deny their coverage. Like that's the way that these guys make money. Because they know most people they don't have time to go after their insurance claims, and they make the claim adjustment or the reclamation process costly and troublesome on purpose. And it doesn't end there. When I was a kid, my sister passed away from a rare genetic factor in leukemia. She had 2 successful bone marrow transplants, but her body at 13 couldn't continue to fight. We were destroyed, but then got a medical bill of over $1 million for procedures that insurance wouldn't pay. My dad and stepmom had to file medical bankruptcy twice. My family fell apart after that, and I don't talk to my father much after I left high school. It really destroyed a lot of my life. Everyone has a story like this. Virtually everyone has a story like this. It doesn't have to be exactly the same. So yeah, that's the reason why people are fucking mad. That's the reason why people don't give a shit that a CEO got killed. Of course. This is why I describe the concept of social murder. The invisible murder that systems subjugate people to. The invisible murder that is done at the behest of the profit motive. It's normalized, it's systematized, it's streamlined. It's invisible. It's supposed to be that way. But it's not supposed to be that way. And especially when it happens to you. especially when it happens to a loved one. You see that pain, so it's no longer invisible. But it's so apparent that even the least educated, even the most ignorant person in society still recognizes who is responsible for it. And no amount of deflection and no amount of, well, think about how your fellow neighbors are actually the ones responsible for your anger and your resentment. Focus on trans people. Focus on undocumented immigrants. Like, focus on something else. Please, not us. Is going to change that reality. You can clutch your pearls about the ways in which people have received this information, but it won't change the reality. GoFundMe CEO, 1/3 of site's donations are to cover medical costs. That was in 2019. And it's so apparent that it's not working that even right-wingers who normally are very good at deflecting the attention away from the real vectors of pain, that are normally so good at making you hate your neighbor instead, even they are falling apart. Even they are completely incapable of making their audiences not be angry at the right people for once. Okay?